Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Russell Jackman. Mike McDowd is out on assignment today.
That's why we have three hosts, so you have a spare in case, one blows out.
Exactly. Yeah, very smart. Very smart. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a trivia question. Now, today, for whatever reason, I just decided we're going to have miscellaneous trivia. Rather than a sports trivia, it'll be mostly like TV, music, TV.
I might do better at this than I do about the ancient baseball trivia, so I'm actually...
I know. You know what? I kind of figured let's just have sort of fun, and we're going to talk sports, but for the trivia, we'll kind of break it off for a little bit. Yeah, when we come back, here are the various topics I wanted to cover. What's next for Tua? The NFL TV viewership is up quite a bit. And guess what? By the way, this is the first time I've ever done. I guess it's really fantasy football, but it's actually not fantasy football. It's just kind of a pick football type of thing with a
Survivor series.
Something like that. I don't know. Just basically pick teams for the week. You ready for this? The first time I've ever done this, and in week one, I was 12 wins and 3 losses.
That'll come back to earth.
I know.
Next week we do 3 and 12.
Yeah, there's like 20 of us or something, and I did win for the week. But this second week, I don't think I did so well. Like you said, come back down to earth. Now, they were recording the show on Tuesday, so Monday Night Football, you had Kirk Cousins come back after Saquon Barkley dropped the pass, talk a little bit about that and the call that they had made to even get to that part. And then can you imagine being the coach of the Panthers? You get this quarterback, Bryce Young, who gets, I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of this is your job on the line. This isn't just watching fantasy football or something, right?
Baker Mayfield Part 2.
Yes. Yeah, very, very similar. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Russell Jackman. Mike McDowd is off this day. All right, so Russell, I'm going to let you start it off. What do you want to start off talking about?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, we didn't meet for the first weekend of football. So we already missed like all the stories that were part of week one, and there were at least 100,000 stories. I mean, everything from Christian McCaffrey now being put on injured reserve. And okay, this is the number one thing I want to talk about, which is me. Okay, because I'm my favorite subject, and
of course.
and I played fantasy football, right? Yeah. So last year I had a very disappointing year. So I got the number one overall pick this year.
Oh, okay.
And of course, who did I? Now, let me preface this by saying that I didn't want to pick McCaffrey last year because I said I am a jinx. Every year that I get a running back, not a quarterback, but when I pick a running back as my first pick, I've had the worst luck. My guys get hurt. I picked I've just got a history of just terrible picks for my top running back, and I mean, last year I picked Derrick Henry as my top guy, and he was disappointing, and so, but this year I said I can't miss with Christian McCaffrey as my number one overall pick. Oops. Have you heard of the Madden curse?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody who it's Sports Illustrated too, I think.
Yes, and if Russ Jackman picks you as a leading running back, that's who you're going to have the Russell curse on you. Because I did that to McCaffrey. I said this year he'll be fine, and I'm going to have my and what I didn't do is I didn't pick up Jordan Mason as his like handcuff quarterback, running back.
Good.
Yeah, and so and then. To make matters worse, my leading receiver is Cooper Kupp.
Oh no!
And
you know what? I don't think they should even let you play anymore.
No, or maybe they should send out a notice to all the teams that I draft guys to just say, "Watch out, Russ has drafted you." I also have Raheem Mostert. I have Raheem Mostert from Miami, who's also got hurt during the game. During game one, and he's out for a number of weeks. So I'm
And,
already,
I didn't know that Ray McLeod got traded until I saw Monday Night Football.
yeah, and now he's become one of the bigger deals. Now
Yeah.
let's talk for a second about Tua. And I was
Yeah.
watching the game when he made that move, and I mean, there was no reason for him not to slide. I mean, it
Yeah.
really, for a guy that's had a concussion history. But what I
Yeah.
also don't understand is why he didn't have that special helmet that they're talking about.
Yeah, because you are allowed to wear that during a game.
Yeah, and he's already had a concussion history. So
Yeah.
why, he's playing at all? But on the other hand, why are you scrambling, in a game where you're already down by 3 touchdowns? And
I think it's just the competitive nature that, they're just going to keep playing as hard as they can rather than, okay, I'm down by 3 touchdowns. I got to make sure I don't get hurt per se, with this play versus that play. That's how I'm kind of
but
guessing.
you have to. The team is making such a huge an investment in you. And where is Miami going to be without Tua? What do you think their
Yeah.
record's going to wind up being? They're going to be a disaster. I mean,
Yeah, but if you think about it though, if you're thinking about all the time, okay, hey, this team's paying me a lot of money. I mean, almost every play you could be very watchful and be too tentative, right?
of course, that's the big problem with, when I look at some of the quarterbacks over the years. Do you remember Chris Chandler by any?
I remember the name. Yeah.
His nickname was China Doll
Oh
because
no.
whenever anybody would get close to him, he was a great quarterback, quote unquote,
Yeah.
when he had time and had protection, but when he got pressure on him, he would just collapse. He would just crumble. And
Yeah.
after a couple of hits, he would be no good in a game because he would just get so worried about guys hitting him that he would just basically several times I remember him actually falling down trying to scramble away and being so afraid of contact that he would fall, and trip over himself rather than take a big hit from a defender.
Yeah, that's going to really limit how good a quarterback you're going to be.
What is that going to do to Miami? I mean, Tua, his
Yeah.
running game was part of his whole,
Sure.
what he does. And a lot of people are saying he should consider retiring, which would
With four concussions since college. I mean,
three,
if there's
two,
anybody a chance who's up for the CTE, it's him.
yeah, and it may be, but again, I don't understand why he wasn't playing with the special helmet. That is a big question to me. Miami took a big, I know it doesn't look cool and
No.
you look kind of goofy with it on, but I'm sure, I don't know if you remember Al Toon at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
Well,
sure.
I saw a documentary on him and how he suffers from intense migraines because of
Yeah,
all the concussions. He says he has to spend a weekend sometimes in a dark room with no lights and no sound because if he hears any of them, they will trigger his migraines to the point where
right.
he can't even walk. He will pass out from the pain that he's in.
That's Man. Did he played for Philadelphia, didn't he?
And the Jets.
And the Jet. Oh yeah, the Jets. The Jets. That's right. That special helmet, is that the one that kind of looks like a waffle iron that they play with during the practice? Is that the
Yeah,
same one?
and they also have one that's kind of like just an extra shell that they put.
Yeah.
Some, I think it was Bubba Paris used to play with
Okay.
yeah, for the 49ers. Used
Yeah.
to have like a second shell that he would put on his helmet to help protect him. So
Interesting, because he was an offensive guard.
yeah, but you still get a lot of impact when you're
Yeah.
on offensive line. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
even like if you just fall down, or get piled on.
or just the head-to-head stuff that you're smashing into
Yeah.
with. So you're having a lot of that. And the other thing I wanted to point out was I never watch. This is all from last week. I never watch college football. I
Yeah.
watch 1 or 2 games a year. I'm serious about this. I
Yeah.
watch 1 or 2 games a year. I just happen to, for whatever reason, decide to watch the Northern Illinois versus Notre Dame game.
Okay.
And I don't know if you saw that game.
I didn't. I was
But
watching my new
that was
grandbaby.
maybe the most amazing upset that I've ever seen in my life as far as a
Yeah, the
college
Northern
football game.
Illinois. Wow.
Yes. Yes. That was an amazing game to watch just for if you like watching an underdog beat,
Yeah.
a number 5 ranked team. That
Well, you got to figure too that geographically they're somewhat in proximity because Notre Dame's in Indiana and
right.
Northern Illinois. That's not probably not
It's
too
not,
far
yeah,
away.
it's close-ish. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. So now you're going to be a college football buff?
No, but I do like the one or two games I decided to see,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I had just for the heck of it, I turned on the Purdue Notre Dame game, and it reminded me why I don't watch a lot of college football.
Oh, okay.
That was
All
like
right.
48-0 at the half.
Oh, no. Well, so Purdue beat them 48. No, I'm just kidding. The
No, not
Boilermakers.
the other way around.
No, I got to figure that one's kind of tough. Okay, here's our first trivia question. Again, we're not doing sports trivia. We're doing just miscellaneous trivia, more in the film, TV,
We really
etc.
should do a TV one because I think you and I are big TV guys.
Oh yeah, especially when I was a kid. We named all 108 episodes of Gilligan's Island when I was a kid. So yeah, that tells you how much TV I watched. Okay, here's our first trivia question. Which world famous cartoon, and I won't tell you yet,
I already know
I'll
the
give you a hint, was created in 1920. And if I give you the name Pat Sullivan, that may not help, but I'll give it to you anyway. All right. Which world famous cartoon was created in 1920 by Pat Sullivan? And when we come back, if you don't know it, I'll give you a little hint. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Russell Jackman. Hopefully next week we'll get Mike McDowd back. He's out on assignment, as they say. All right. Trivia question number 1. Which world famous cartoon was created in 1920 by Pat Sullivan?
Popeye?
No? Okay, now let me ask the question again. Which world famous cartoon cat was created in 1920 by Pat Sullivan?
Felix the cat?
Yes. Felix the cat.
Wonderful cat.
The wonderful, wonderful cat. Yeah.
You laugh so much, your sides will split.
Wait, say that again?
You laugh so much, your sides will split.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that part of it. And
when he reaches into his magic kit.
Yeah.
Felix
Wow,
the cat. The wonderful, wonderful cat.
Yeah, I do remember the cartoon. It's funny. If you think about it, that was 8 years before Steamboat Willie, which turned into Mickey Mouse.
Oh yeah, that's
28.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but 28 was also the 20s is around when Popeye came, or like the 30s, I think, is when Popeye came around. But I think that was
in the 30s,
Max Fleischer. Yeah. That was Max Fleischer.
Popeye, he's famous for becoming strong because of eating spinach. But what was it before spinach?
What was it?
Always spinach.
Was it garlic?
No, broccoli.
Broccoli, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
But they figured kids really hate broccoli, so they changed it to spinach.
Not that canned spinach is any better. I'll tell you.
I know. I think I'd rather go back to the broccoli.
I think I'd rather have broccoli too, to be honest.
I know. All right, that's our consensus for today. All right. So the NFL TV viewership set a record, up 12%, 21 million viewers. This is the first week. And then the Chiefs-Bengals game on Sunday was watched by 27.9 million. The most watched game since the Chiefs Super Bowl victory. It's funny, they do it by viewers, but is it done by like televisions that are on? Because you might have a Super Bowl party, or not a Super Bowl, but a game. You might have like 4 guys watching.
5 or 10 people that are over at the house.
Yeah, so you're probably talking on average at least, let's say, 2 people.
Right. You don't know what bars are included. If you're at a bar,
good point.
100 people at the bar, or
Yeah, so you could be talking 100 million people. That's something like that.
And you also think about internationally. How many people?
Yeah.
And how many people, if you want to quote unquote include the viewers, how many people like maybe watch the highlights right after a game, go on to YouTube
Yeah.
or to, they've recorded it and then they watch it back later. So I don't know if how those are counted in viewership. So yeah,
That's a
look,
good point.
the NFL is absolutely king of. I mean, you look at the highest watched NBA game, and that's about 5 million viewers. And you
Yeah.
look at the most watched baseball game, and it's like maybe about 2 or 3 million.
2 or 3 million. Yeah.
21 million. And as you talk, that's maybe not even capturing the entire number, maybe closer to 100 million when all said and done. Because it's a fever. I mean, and a lot of it, I hate to say it because I'm not a fan of it, is spurned by gambling. I think that gambling has made the NFL go to a higher pitch because the thing is with the gambling. I think that people like something that happens once per week. It's easier to focus on how you bet. People can't bet every day. I mean, there are those real inveterate gamblers that will bet every day, but people like yourself, like it's fun to do the pool. When I was in law school, my roommate worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and they had the same thing where they had 30 people and they would all bet on who would have the highest record, and she never knew anything about football. So she would like bring me the list, and we would fill it out together as far as who would win that week. She's like, "Do you think the Rams are going to beat the Raiders this week?"
Well, do you remember there was an episode on Cheers when Shelley Long they asked her about picking a couple of teams, and she said something like the Bears or was it the Tigers over the Cubs or something like that.
She liked the mascots.
Yeah, you won't know. She just said, "Well, a tiger could easily beat a cub."
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. What you have problems with is when you have these esoteric teams like the Heat and the Magic. What the hell do you do about that?
Yeah, or the Jets.
Yes, or the Suns. I mean, well, obviously the Suns would beat everybody, wouldn't they?
The Suns? Oh yeah.
I mean, when they just melt and catch everybody on the flames, and it doesn't matter what animal you are.
It's true, because even a giant, the Giants, but the Suns, that's pretty good.
Exactly.
What was I say? Oh yeah, and you're right, because it's once a week, so you can kind of get mentally up for it, so to speak. Versus baseball, there's just too many games.
Yeah,
and
you can do your research. And that you can focus your bet on a big game each week. Whereas in basketball, they don't really have that. I mean, they kind of do, but they don't. I mean, teams don't always take it so seriously, but you can look at every game in the NFL, and every game really means so much because there's only 17 of them. The teams really do.
You know what I like? And this is maybe just so far, I haven't heard of any gambling scandals with football this year or even the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, it's not, again, you could have a quarterback, it's funny. I'm thinking about the old movie, The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds. The reason he got out of football was because he threw the game, if you remember the movie.
Right.
And by the way, Adam Sandler did a pretty decent job in the remake. Not bad at all.
And in the remake features Dilip Singh,
the big
guy. And that's a guy I worked with in All Pro Wrestling. I managed him for a single night as Dilip Van Halen. We did a gig where he was supposedly going to be the third Van Halen brother, and he was going to be. And I gave him a guitar, and he with no strings on it. He pretended to play it and sing in the ring. It was hilarious. I was going to be his agent.
Who came up with that one idea?
Me. That was my idea. I was going to be his rock and roll agent.
How many people were in the audience?
Oh, we had like 50, 60 people. It was was what was called like a light show at the APW garage, and did the fans like it? Oh, it was hilarious. I wish we had done it in a big show. But you know, it was at those light shows you get to do just kind of like experimental stuff and see if
Yeah.
it gets over, and it was over. But that the problem was that shortly after I did that, Delete left and went to Mexico. He
Oh,
went.
really? Right. Okay. Because I mean,
Yeah.
he became kind of a big star.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I remember you saying that he never lifted weights. He just some guy found him in
No,
India.
that's all he did do was lift weights. That's all Delete knew in his life was lifting weights.
Wait a minute, though. He wasn't he like a homeless guy in
Yeah,
India and some.
he was a homeless guy in India, just living in the gutter. But but he was still a huge guy. And
Yeah.
this guy, Dr. Kumar, found him and just put him in his basement, fed him, and just said, here's a bunch of weights, lift them.
Ah,
And
okay.
just over the years, Delete just built himself into this gigantic, massive muscle dude, but
Yeah.
literally was at the behest of the caste system in India.
Yeah.
And was, I mean, I can't call him a slave to Dr. Kumar, but basically he was like
An
human
indentured
chattel.
servant, I guess. Is
Yeah,
probably a good.
basically he
Yeah,
was.
you'd think that caste system or not, a guy that big could at least be recruited as a guard for the Sultan or something, something like that.
In the caste system, where it is, you're just when you're part of the Untouchables, you're garbage. It doesn't matter if you're the most beautiful woman in the world or if you're a huge athlete. Once you're considered part of the lowest untouchable level, your life is worthless.
And how do they know your lineage? Right? If they just see you walking around and you're just some beautiful woman, what do they do?
No idea. I do not understand the caste system, and it's heartbreaking to me.
It is, yeah, me too. I mean, I like merit.
I don't want to understand it. Let's put it this way: I don't want to understand it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, my friend. And then lastly, before we go to our next break here, Prime Video Thursday night's Amazon debut averaged 15 million viewers, and I'm thinking, okay, so what do you go on to onto Prime Video, like you're going to watch a movie and you just move it over to Thursday Football and you start watching it?
Yes, and it's the same thing with like Peacock and the other now. I am really afraid that we're going to get to a stage where all 17 football games are on 17 different networks, and you're going to have to pay 17 different subscriptions to watch every game on
that's gonna be tough because you're gonna get like people are gonna say, well, I'll just wait till it comes out on YouTube for highlights, or I mean, they're gonna lose some people because
apparently not.
Maybe they don't care.
15 million people subscribe to it. Then that makes me sad because it means that it's working and that people are signing up.
But if you already have Prime to buy Amazon stuff, it just comes on regular, doesn't it? Or do you have to pay extra?
I don't know.
I'll tell you what, we'll think about that when we go to our next trivia question. Who co-starred with Elizabeth Taylor in the movie Cleopatra? All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. Edward Brown here along with Russell Jackman. Next week, we'll have our friend Mike McDowd back. All right, second trivia question. Who co-starred with Elizabeth Taylor in the movie Cleopatra?
Richard Burton.
Very good. All right.
That was easy.
That was easy. I think the next one might be fairly easy too.
Okay.
Okay, so
are you impressed that I know like a movie that's way older than I am?
I am impressed by that because you don't like the baseball questions that are 100 years old, but you'll know
movies. I'm a little bit, especially cartoons. I can do a lot. We can do a lot with that. But
yeah. Oh, it's funny. I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but I took my son to a father-son like fun camp type of thing, and while we were waiting for little things to happen, they had us listen to various music intros to like da 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 da, and you go, oh, okay, that's the Dick Van Dyke Show, right?
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe that I was listening to this one, and I go, Oh my gosh, I haven't heard that in almost 60 years. And it was Fireball XL5, which were
Oh
these
wow, that's
marionette.
a pretty. Yeah, I know what that show was. Was
You
that
do know the show,
made by the people that did Thunderbirds?
yeah,
So
yeah. But
puppet
can you
stuff.
imagine? I mean,
I wouldn't
I hadn't
remember
heard.
the theme though. But do you know
Yeah,
the theme?
that's the thing.
I remember the theme to Space 1999 though.
You remember what?
To the theme to Space 1999.
I don't even know that show.
Oh, that was a great show with Barbara Bain and I forgot the other the lead guy in that. But it was a show with the space show where the moon separates from the Earth and goes flying through space, and they have all these weird adventures. It's a moon base alpha. No, you don't know.
Never saw it.
That stuff.
When
No,
did it come out? 70s?
yeah, yeah, it was in the
Ah,
70s.
you don't
Nice
remember.
dramatic theme to that. But anyway, we're getting
See,
off.
I was hitting the books in the 70s. It was only in the 60s I was watching the cartoons, my friend,
Well,
and these.
I was right in that target age of in the 70s of cartoons because I wasn't
That's
in college. But anyway,
Hey,
and I had one trivia question for you. Okay.
yes.
When was the last time the 49ers won against the Minnesota Vikings?
Ooh. Yeah, they kept getting beat, especially with Brett Favre in that last Hail Mary pass. The last time they beat the Vikings? Gee, 6 years ago?
Keep going.
Really? 10 years ago?
Keep going.
15 years ago?
Keep going.
Come on. The last time the 49ers beat the Vikings?
Keep
20
going.
years ago? 20?
Keep going.
30.
Keep going.
Oh my gosh. 1988?
32 years ago. 1992 was the last
Was the
time.
last time? Wow, how many games
Eight.
did they lose?
The Niners are 0-8 against the Vikings.
Wow.
0-8.
In the last 32 years.
And it
Boy,
doesn't
that's
matter who's, because some people were saying, oh, well, Shanahan coached a bad game. You know what? I'm saying that, you know what? It doesn't matter who's coach. Walsh
Yeah.
couldn't beat him. Seifert couldn't beat him.
Shanahan, yeah.
Shanahan can't beat him. And he couldn't even, Harbaugh couldn't even beat him. So
Interesting.
wait, there's just something about the purple and gold and those stupid horns, those fjord horns that they have. I think just puts the Niners off. So if you are going to be betting on a 49ers Minnesota game, don't bet on the 49ers.
Well, think about it. A Viking can beat up a 49er.
Well, no,
Oh,
they should not be able to. 49ers have guns.
No. A gun. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, they could just shoot the friggin' Viking from like 100 feet away. Remember
Very,
the old
very
mascot?
good.
The old mascot for the 49ers was this crazy cowboy shooting like a gun up in the air and a gun behind
That's
him.
true.
You never seen
Yeah.
the old 49er logo?
Well, I think more about the 49er with like a shovel for gold, not.
Gold mine.
But I guess
But they usually had a shotgun to drive off the claim jumpers, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So going back to football for just a minute here. So Kirk Cousins come back after Saquon Barkley passed. Man, can you imagine being Saquon Barkley? I mean, I know it's not all.
What I can't imagine being right now is the Philadelphia defense. The Philadelphia defense folded with a capital F.
Yeah.
In that last drive. I have never seen a less gutsy, more cowardly, more tepid, more pathetic defensive stand in my life.
It was this prevent defense type of thing. Well, we'll just give up a few yards. That
it was
rarely
no pass rush at all. And I'm not a Philadelphia.
And to me, that's the mistake. I think what you do is you blitz and you get the quarterback all riled up.
All you have to do is play 4 downs worth of defense, and you're done. It reminded me of the way the 49ers collapsed against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? In overtime.
This year, this last year, or when
Yes.
Garoppolo?
No, with last year, or the beginning of this year, when the 49ers lost to Kansas City and in overtime, that last defensive set where the Kansas City just walked down the field and got a touchdown. And I mean, well, in both cases, if they'd held them to just a field goal, that wouldn't have done it. Atlanta had to get a touchdown. They were down by 5. Yeah. So they had no choice but to go for it. And Philadelphia knew that. And they just put together a gutless, worthless at home. And then they even had a chance to like drive down the field and get a field goal. And Hurts throws just a terrible interception.
Yeah. But even go back to the call when they are like, I think 3rd and 3, and they decide to throw the ball, which will stop the clock. I guess they just assumed Econ would catch it, but I mean, he didn't have to. Maybe he wasn't
open. The ball hit him right in the hands. It couldn't have been a more perfectly called play, and it couldn't have been more perfectly delivered to Saquon Barkley.
But here's the question: why even throw the ball when you're going to stop the clock? Why don't you run it?
Because they had a first down. He catches that and gets the first down, and the game is over.
True.
The game is over, and the ball was. And look, if it was a tough play and it was covered well and all that stuff, you could say, well, okay, that was a bad call. But it went right to Saquon's hands, and he was wide open.
Yeah. And you're gonna have to hope that he gets over that.
But here's my question to you: we're moving into week 3 of the NFL season. Who is the best team in the NFL right now? It's not the Cowboys. It's not Philly. No. It's not. It doesn't look like Kansas City. It doesn't look like
Kansas City just barely beat the Bengals.
I know, and could have easily lost that game. It's the Niners.
Even the Raiders look pretty good.
What?
Even the Raiders are,
it's not Baltimore. Baltimore doesn't look like they're.
Baltimore doesn't look very good right now.
So a lot of the teams that people were going into this season saying, "Oh, well, Green Bay is a lock," and Detroit looks, is going to be right back there again. And the 49ers are favored to win, and Kansas City is going to repeat. And a lot of these preseason predictions by week 3. I mean, who said that, they didn't think that McCaffrey wouldn't play for, 6 weeks? Who thought, Jordan Love would be out for, probably a number of games this season? Who thought Tagovailoa might be looking at retirement by week 3? Miami was picked by a lot of people to be a big force. It's the one thing about the NFL, and I remember about Jerry Glanville saying this when he was yelling at a referee. He said, the NFL stands for not for long.
Not for long. That's right. It was him. Yeah, that's right.
And it really is that way right now. I mean, if you were a great team last year, you were a great team not for long. Because right now, this year, injuries are already mounting up on the top teams, and these upstarts are beginning to Minnesota might be a great team this year, but they lost Jefferson.
Yeah, look at Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
Yeah.
Even though he's come back a bit.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, when you get major injuries to certain players, I mean, now Mason has done a good job taking over for McCaffrey. But I was going to bring up this last point before we cut to our last break. Can you imagine being the coach of the Panthers? So, think about it when you're a coach. Your job is on the line when you don't win, right? And you have a quarterback who was chosen in the first round and has a really bad completion ratio. Carolina, I mean, I don't think they're going to go.
They're already subbing him out. They're already taking him out. And but who are they subbing in? Who are they bringing in?
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton,
who's been around a long time. He's not a bad quarterback.
But talk about a retread. I mean, that is putting the spare tire that you've already driven like several thousand miles on the
Yeah.
car, and you're expecting to make it across the country.
Sure. Oh, one other team that we didn't mention with the Lions. You know,
I
they made
did.
it
I
to
did just
the.
mention the Lions, and I said
What
they're
say
not.
again?
I did mention the Lions in the list of teams that people thought were going
Oh,
to
I didn't hear you say that, but yeah, Goff
put
didn't
out.
really do much this last week.
Yeah, no, they've
But
come back down to earth too. You know,
yeah,
it's right now, and I've always said you need at least 4 weeks to start seeing who is really good and who is really bad, because you don't know in the first 2 weeks if the reason why you won is because you're great or is it because the other team sucks. You know, and
good point.
even and when you win and if you lose, you don't know if you won or if you lost. You know, you don't really know why that is. So you have to figure that out, and that's always a challenge. So
All right, sounds good. You ready for our next commercial break? This goes fast. All right. Here's our last trivia question. I think you'll probably know this one. What was Arnold Schwarzenegger's original nationality? I don't know if we should say original. I guess nationality means original anyway, doesn't it?
yes,
Okay, that's kind of that's from the Department of the Redundancy Department. That's our trivia question. What was Arnold Schwarzenegger's quote original nationality? Because I guess he's considered American now, right? I'm sure he's got his
yes,
citizenship
but
and
he can't
everything.
run for president.
But he can't run for president. Exactly. Yeah, I remember Kissinger couldn't run for president either because he was not native born, which is kind of a funky rule because sometimes you get people who are from foreign countries that are more, quote, American or for America than some Americans. But that's another story for another day. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back with some closing comments and our famous thoughts for the day. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown. Last time for today, Russell Jackman also is on as our guest. Mike McNown will be back next week. Third trivia question. What was Arnold Schwarzenegger's original nationality?
Austrian.
Austrian. Very good. So you were 2 for 3. And then when I gave you
two and
the
a half, because I granted
and when I gave you the hint, you were 3 for 3. So yeah,
thank you.
we'll give you 2.5. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So are you ready for our thoughts of the day? I think you're going to like these. Okay. Never. Yeah, that's right. So there was a king who was only 12 inches tall. He was a terrible king, but he made a great ruler. Yeah, I knew. I was waiting for you to get that one. Okay. And let's see here. I was disappointed in the universal remote control I bought. Turns out it doesn't control the universe, not even remotely.
That was the
Not
that was the
even
premise of the
remotely.
movie Click, right?
What? Oh yeah, that's right. That was kind of an interesting movie. That was an Adam Sandler movie, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
And
actually
when you
pretty
talk
cool.
about the first thing, you know what I think of? I think of the cartoon Inch High Private Eye.
I don't remember that.
Do you remember? No, you don't remember that in the 70s?
No,
It was a cartoon about
no. I assume he was a 1 inch high private
private
eye.
eye. Yeah, absolutely. You have to look that up.
I'll have to look that. That's a cartoon in the 70s?
Yes.
And so he's able to go into like small places and that
Right.
sort of
And
thing.
he had like this giant dog as his like partner.
Sort of
The
like
dog
Clifford's
taking around.
dog. That's kind of
Yes.
cute. I was a little too old to start watching Inspector Gadget, but I thought that was pretty good too. Go arms. Yeah, or wait, what was it?
Go gadget legs or
Go
go
Gadget arms.
arms.
Yeah. Mr. Knife, that one.
Inspector Gadget.
Yeah,
Yeah, by Don Adams, the guy who was obviously Maxwell Smart.
Yes, of course. Don Adams, Maxwell Smart. All right, audience, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
Hold on.